You're listening to Acciopolitics, a Harry Potter reread podcast that focuses on politics in the wizarding world. And I am one of your hosts, Adri, a recovering English major.
And I'm your co-host and producer, Helene.
How are you, Helene?
I am, the week after daylight savings is just a brutal week. I don't know. I feel like it hit me differently this year than it usually does as well.
Yes, it is brutal. We lose an hour and also a part of our souls, I feel. Um,
Honestly,
just
truth.
so tired. Everything has also not the best decision for me to hop on a plane
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Saturday before daylight savings because I'm already super tired from the
yeah,
flying and the time change and all these things plus daylight savings. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I don't know. And it's weird because I feel like I've been getting a decent amount of sleep, but every morning I just wake up so slammed, so tired. Every morning I'm like, I don't even think I didn't I think I slept pretty normally. I don't know what's going on.
are you taking your vitamins?
I am. I actually got put on some new medications to help my migraines better, so I'm hoping that it'll even get better from here. But
Oh,
no,
that's good. I'm excited for you.
thank you.
I'm,
Yeah,
I'm excited. These are the things that excites us as a mid-30s and almost 30s person.
yeah. I mean, anyone who suffers from migraines, I think would be like, hell yeah, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because less migraines equals better life. Woo.
Woo! Um, Now we're woo girls. Shout out to How I Met Your Mother. Deep
Yes.
cut. Uh, I speaking of things that excite us as adults, I bought the Tums chewables for my trip, which were amazing
I
once
totally
again.
thought you were gonna say I bought the American Girl dolls we were talking about,
Oh
and
my
I was like,
god.
oh my god, why didn't you tell me?
I now okay, so as you know, Helene, but the listeners don't know, I now am going to put Livy on a daycare, and that is very expensive. It's like buying a set of American Girl dolls every month.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, probably best to hold off uh
Yeah,
until you win the lottery or something.
correct. I was talking to my mom about this because she's like, "How could it be that expensive?" And I was like, "It's almost as expensive as college tuition." Like,
Oh, we're talking about the daycare now.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we
yeah. But
I thought we
also
would
the but
I
also
was like
American Girl dolls.
I was like, I don't know if I would say the girl dolls or yeah. No, I
I
following the train
mean,
of thought.
more than $1,000 a month feels like college tuition to me.
Yeah, I mean, having children is expensive. That's what they say.
That's what they say, and they were right. They
Yeah.
were completely right.
Yeah,
But
they're not
also,
usually they are not usually right, but this time they were right.
they were right. I
Whoever
obviously
they
I
are.
knew all of this, but I was like, I could probably do it working from home. Work at night, take care of her during the day. Sleep from 6 p.m. to midnight. This is not how it's been happening, guys. I can barely fall asleep at 6 because I'm so overtired. I end up sleeping from 9 to midnight, maybe, and then wake up and do the work and then take care of Olivia during the day. This is not sustainable. The fact that
No.
I've made it this far is honestly mind blowing to me when I look
Yeah.
back on it.
Yeah, I mean same.
Um, and honestly, the fact that I'm speaking into this microphone right now is
And
insane to me.
coherent sentences and words that make sense together. Woo.
With my mouth words, as you call them.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
Also, another deep cut from Acciopolitics archives.
Yes.
Uh, but what a week. But I hope it gets better for us and everyone else. And today we are nearing the end of Deathly Hallows. We are in chapter 28, Helene. It is titled The Missing Mirror of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Can you let us know what happens on this chapter?
Yeah, yeah, this is the one where the trio arrives in Hogsmeade only to be immediately ambushed by Death Eaters after their arrival sets off an alarm. They narrowly escape both Death Eaters and Dementors, only to be saved by Aberforth Dumbledore, who hides them in the Hogshead and manages to get the Death Eaters off their trail completely. Harry realizes that Aberforth is the one he's been seeing in his two-way mirror and also the one who sent Dobby to rescue them from Malfoy Manor. After a bit of debate surrounding the mission Albus left for Harry, Aberforth tells the trio the entire story of what happened to his sister Ariana, along with how it impacted the rest of the Dumbledore family. Finally, he decides to help them get into Hogwarts and sends Ariana's portrait to get Neville from the castle.
Fun fact: Aberforth was also way hotter in Fantastic Beasts
Yeah,
than
Secrets of
in
Dumbledore. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
he was a cutie. Yeah, the Harry Potter like original Aberforth was, he looked more like Dumbledore did in that series, so
Well,
makes
they went through
sense.
some shit after. They just went
Yeah,
through some shit. They went through
yeah,
a war.
right, right.
Whatever.
Fair, fair, fair.
I guess it's fair. I just like really hot Dumbledore and the hot Dumbledore brothers.
Yeah, I'm here for
What a
them.
waste. What a waste. We could have had them all along.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that? Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to see them again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
But
don't. Yeah, I doubt we're getting another Fantastic Beasts movie. Unfortunately, well, I guess it depends on whether or not you were a fan of whether or not it was fortunate or unfortunate.
I mean,
But
I could have casually watched them on HBO Max. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just, just look at Jude Law. Anyway,
yeah, same.
beautiful, beautiful man. Let's talk about the politics in this chapter. Helene, what is your politic for this chapter and like what how do you define it?
Yeah, so I went this chapter. I went with perspective. So,
Okay.
um, we as readers reading the series, as we've talked about before, mainly only experience Harry's perspective in general, but in this specific case, we usually only see Harry's perspective of Albus. Um, Sometimes we hear from other characters like Doge and Rita and and hear like some conflicting stories, but the majority of the way that we experience Albus Dumbledore in this book is mostly through Harry's eyes. But I think that we get to see Dumbledore. I'm going to say Albus throughout this instead of Dumbledore because we have two Dumbledores in this chapter. And it's going to get confusing. So we get to see Albus specifically through a really unique perspective um, in this chapter because all everything up until now has been kind of biased, and I think when we get to hear Aberforth's perspective of Albus and who he was growing up and like who he is as an adult and just he comes with a really unique perspective of Albus from really genuinely knowing him and having no reason to lie or like it like what's that, not fabricate, kind of fabricate, but what's like to embellish, that's the word I was trying to think of, to embellish anything about him or the story or anything like that. um so I mean, sorry, I lost my train of thought. One second. Centering. Okay. So like I mentioned, like Harry does start to have like the image of that he has of Albus Dumbledore in his mind throughout the whole series. In this book, he starts to be tested when first we hear from like Alpheus Dodge or Doge, however. I don't think we've ever decided how we want to say that. First we hear from him, and he's like very very much like rose colored glasses, has nothing to say about Dumbledore. Like he just like he had just died and he doesn't want to like disparage his good name. So like that perspective is kind of tainted with those things. And then we hear the complete opposite when Rita writes her book, and it's like she has a malicious motive to like make Albus look like a bad person, and like taint all the things that Harry thought he knew about him. um and so that's why Aberforth is so unique in this aspect, kind of like I said, because he doesn't have a reason to make anything up or to, blow smoke up Harry's ass or anything like that. He just tells the story as he experienced it. Um and so, because we see the story through Harry's perspective, uh we see him struggling with not being able to explain to Aberforth why he knows that he is the only one that can complete the mission that Albus laid out for him. Like, that's something that we only see from Harry's perspective, because if you're watching from the outside, it just looks like he is, like, withholding information or doesn't wanna tell Aberforth for, like, no reason. So that's something that, like, we get from a specific perspective that wouldn't be picked up on from other perspectives. Um, and then just in general, the story of what happened to Ariana, we get to see that story from two different perspectives. Not in this chapter, but eventually, because Albus eventually does tell Harry a version of that story from his perspective, I believe. Um, in the like when they're like walking through King's Cross Station after Harry dies. Um, so it's just um interesting to see things from all angles, and I feel like we get to a really good insight into unique perspectives that we don't usually see in this chapter.
Well, thank you for your perspective. My perspective is twofold. I want to make two comments on your no on your notes. Right,
Yeah.
one of them is that when you said embellished, I immediately thought of bedazzling. So from now on, instead of embellishing the truth, I'm gonna think about bedazzling the truth.
I mean, I think that they're pretty interchangeable, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like it just lends this poetic license to it.
I like it.
Secondly, you were talking about Ariana, and
Yeah.
because I am a trash human being who is still embroiled in the Vanderpump Rules
Right.
scandal of it all, I was like, yes, poor Ariana. I was like, wait, this is another Ariana.
Right. Right.
But also hashtag justice for Ariana. Dumbledore and Maddox, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I kind of thought about that a little bit too when I was writing the politic.
Honestly, justice for them both. Is it a cursed name? We will find out.
I mean, Ariana Grande seems to be doing good for herself, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Right, right, right.
Let's not bring,
Yeah, we
her
don't wanna
downfall.
curse her. We don't wanna curse her or anything, yeah.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll go with my politic, which is
Yeah.
like the least inventive politic I've done in a very long time, I feel like. And that is literally what happens on the chapter, the politics of curfews. And I found this scholarly article called Collective Violence, Human Rights, and the Politics of Curfew by Paul R. Brass, and it was written in 2006. So I want to make sure that we put the date there because it was more than 10 years ago. And I'm going to read some excerpts from it. Not
Okay.
experts, but excerpts.
Experts probably wrote the excerpts, so
Exactly. The imposition of martial law, restrictions on the right of habeas corpus, declarations of emergency that provide the government with extraordinary powers, and the imposition of curfew is perhaps the least studied of the measures is the curfew, right? Like all the other measures just mentioned, curfews, restrictions deny to citizens the everyday freedoms and rights to which they are normally entitled to for the period of time in which such restrictions are imposed. During curfew hours, if there is a shoot at sight order in force as well, any person might be shot to death simply for appearing on the streets without official knowledge and permission.
wow.
During less restrictive curfews, anyone appearing on the streets may be arrested and put in jail. Should crowds mass, police may attack, beat, and shoot persons at will. Violation of curfew restrictions is also punishable by prison and or fine. The imposition of frequent and prolonged curfews in the cities, towns, and regions of any country is a clear indication of political and administrative failure on the part of the authorities. It
Mm,
indicates failure to anticipate, prevent, and control large scale violence. It may also mean that the state lacks legitimacy among a population under its control or jurisdiction. It may even indicate that the state itself is using curfew to prevent feared peaceful public protests against its authority, or that the state is using curfew as a method of punishing a segment of its own population. So, here we have the Death Eaters, which are like the de
I have
facto
so many
mouthpiece.
thoughts. I have so many thoughts.
Okay, but okay.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so we have the Death Eaters, who are like the de facto mouthpiece for like Voldemort, who is like the puppet master behind the Ministry at this point, right? So
Yeah,
like illegitimate power, gained through illegitimate ways, right? So like
yeah.
like trying to control the population of Hogsmeade, by like intimidation, right, and curfews, and in this instance, the police would be the Dementors, I think, like enforcing
Well, and the Death
like
Eaters. The
yeah,
Death
and
Eaters.
the Death Eaters, but, like, in this way, like, the Death Eaters are, like, the political, spokespeople who have, like,
Well,
control over the Dementors, which is be the police.
they're also enforcing stuff, right? Because
Yeah, but
they
they're
followed them.
almost yeah, but they're, like, to me, right, like, to me, the police is, like, basically the grunt people, like, who, like, enforce whatever other people tell them to do, right, like, the laws or whatever, and when the Death Eaters are like, "Oh, let the Dementors patrol the streets." It's almost like a politician being like, "Oh, we'll have the police patrol the streets."
Yeah, but devil's advocate, like, the Dementors are that for Voldemort.
The Dementors are the
Or
police for
sorry,
Voldemort.
the Death Eaters. The Death Eaters are that for Voldemort.
I think that the Death Eaters can be that for Voldemort, but in this specific instance of the curfew violation where they show up first, yeah, maybe they're like first responders, but usually first responders don't have authority over other forces.
What about, like, the the Death Eaters are the
Are the
police?
FBI
No,
and like
I'm gonna
and the
say
death
no, no, no,
the
no, 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 no,
Dementors,
no, 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 no. The Death Eaters are the police, but the Dementors are the National Guard.
but the police has no authority over the National Guard.
Okay, so then flip it then. I just think it's like the National
No.
Guard comes in when the police can't handle it on their own.
So the National Guard, I believe, it can only be summoned by a politician.
Yeah. So
So that's
that's why the Dementors are the National Guard, because they can be summoned by the
and
Death
then
Eaters.
and the Death Eaters are the politicians, like I said in the beginning.
The police force.
The police can't like in this
Whatever,
analogy,
whatever,
like
whatever. Okay. Anyway, that's not even what I wanted to discuss about this.
okay,
Alright.
let's not go down this rabbit hole, okay?
Okay. So, are you done? Can I say what I was gonna say?
Fine, you do whatever you want. It's only my time to talk about my politics, but go ahead.
That's why I asked if you were done. Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay, good, 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 good. Okay. Now I have to like remember what I was gonna say because I just got all worked up. Um, okay, yes. First of all, this is definitely 100%. Like as I was reading this, I was like, this exact thing happened when the George Floyd
Mhm, mhm,
protests were happening. Because I live in Minneapolis, as many of you guys already know, and obviously, like around the death of George Floyd and the publicization. I don't know what's the word. I can't think of words tonight. Obviously, I'm doing badly with words. But like basically, like the whole world was going like and rioting and protesting, but it was particularly very prevalent in Minneapolis, and we did have like many weeks where they enforced curfews for the specific reason they even said in here, where it was like um where did it go, basically they did it to prevent feared public protests. I know this says peaceful public protests. I will say the protests and the riots in Minneapolis around the George Floyd's death were not always peaceful. There was looting, like there was destruction of property, there was, like I don't think anyone died as far as I'm aware. I don't think anyone died in the protests.
mhm,
So maybe that's still considered peaceful, but
mhm,
I don't know what the
mhm.
definition is. Um
I think it depends on like who is doing the protesting, right? Like I
yeah,
think it's very racialized. Like
right.
if a group of people of color so much so as like put a toe out of line, it stops being peaceful. But like white people carrying tiki torches, saying the Jews will not replace us, completely peaceful. What are you talking about, Helene?
Right, no, exactly, totally. I'm yeah.
I'm just like,
I mean, yeah. Um,
Ugh.
but yeah, I mean, like it says, like I fully agree with this, with the what you read, that like it just means that it indicates a failure to anticipate, prevent, and control large scale violence. Um, it
And it's
indicates a
based on and it could be based on the lack of legitimacy of the government.
Yeah, yeah, like, this is, like, the only way that they know to how to control a situation, um, that they don't like to stop things like protests from happening because 1 for PR and 2 for, public, y not exactly safety, but, like, public property, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
but then I started thinking, like, none of these reasons listed here are why the Death Eaters enforce a curfew on Hogsmeade. I think part of it, like you mentioned, part of it might be control. They want to control the
Mhm.
citizens of Hogsmeade, and I can agree to that with that to an extent. But I think the main reason that they enforced the curfew on Hogsmeade was so that it would make it easier to find and capture Harry should he ever set foot in Hogsmeade.
No, I understand that part, but also I don't know if we ever find out if like major wizarding towns and like cities or whatever also had these curfews set
Right.
in place.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because they're in a wizarding war, right?
Right.
And they're trying to capture people who are like resistant to the new regime and government.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
they might have initially done this at Hogsmeade to capture Harry Potter, but I also think it could be more than
yeah.
just that.
It's
Yeah.
very possible. Yeah, we just know that, like, they know that Harry is, like, prone to, like, wanting to go to Hogsmeade and bound to eventually end up there because they know he's gonna wanna get into the school for some reason at some point.
For
And
for mysterious reasons, because Voldemort
yeah,
is not gonna share with anyone.
right. Like, they know that, like, their best bet at finding Harry Potter is trying to capture him as he's trying to get into Hogwarts, basically, and locking down Hogsmeade is the easiest way for them to, like, it's like the first line of defense for them. But yeah, I mean, I doubt that, like, that's just a very unique situation. I don't think that there are other situations in history where a curfew has been enacted to on, like, a whole town to try and catch one, like, wanted criminal, even though
And
Harry
we're
wasn't
we're
necessarily
using
a criminal.
we're using big quotes for criminal,
Yeah, I was like,
alleged
I
criminal.
mean, like, I don't, yeah, definitely, like, not an actual criminal, but yeah, basically, like, a wanted person. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of like a whole city enacting or curfew, like, for like
To
a
to flush
gunman.
out one person, right, like,
Yeah,
to flush out one person who's like, "You know what I can't abide? Not being out in these streets at night." Like,
right, right.
that's that's exactly how we're gonna catch him or her.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if maybe, like, if there was ever, like, a serial killer situation where, like, women were getting abducted and murdered after 9 p.m. in this town, so, like, they would, like, make it to, like, advise women not to go out after 9 p.m. Like, that's not technically an enforced curfew, but, like, I'm sure that maybe something similar to that has happened.
Yeah, but that's not yeah, not this like you said, not the same
Yeah,
as an enforced curfew.
yeah.
Because it's not like they're like, "And if we catch you on the streets, you're going to go to jail, or
No,
we can shoot you on sight."
if we catch you on the streets, we're gonna just deliver you to the serial killer because 'cause you're asking for it,
You're
so
asking for it,
right,
clearly, like,
right.
"We're gonna take you to the Dementors, and they're gonna give you a little kiss, and we're done."
Yes. Yeah.
Smoochy, smoochy. Can you give us your quote?
Smoochy, smoochy. Yes, the quote I did for perspective, in this chapter, it starts with, "I can't leave," said Harry. "I've got a job. Give it to someone else." "I can't. It's got to be me. Dumbledore explained it all." "Oh, did he now? And did he tell you everything? Was he honest with you?" Harry wanted with all his heart to say yes, but somehow the simple word would not rise to his lips. Aberforth seemed to know that what he was thinking. "I know my brother Potter. He learned secrecy at our mother's knee. Secrets and lies. That's how he grew up. And Albus, he was a natural." So I just think that the quote kind of, it illustrates two of the things I was talking about earlier. One, that, like, we see Harry kind of struggling with not being able to explain to Aberforth why he knows he has to finish this.
Mhm.
because that's just something that Aberforth can't, like, understand because he doesn't have, like, the background information, he doesn't and, like, Harry can't tell him. But then also, this last line from Aberforth, like or is it Aberforth? I'm sorry if I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. But this last line from him is, you know, this is something that Harry would never know about Dumbledore because he wasn't there when he was grew up. He wasn't there when he was a child. He doesn't know Albus to the degree that his brother does. And so, secrets and lies, that's how he grew up, and Albus was a natural. Like he would not know that Albus learned to be the way he is from his mother. So it's just a unique way.
Well, and what I like about this politicking is that it also shows us that a person is not your perception of them, right? Like a person can be like a collective of
Right.
either the perceptions of all of those around them or those closest to them or who really know them,
Yeah.
because we all carry like these multitudes within us, and like just because someone may have known us as children doesn't mean they know us as adults, but they know a part of us, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so so that's kind of interesting to think about. Like Harry knew one Dumbledore, Aberforth or Aberforth knew another, but neither of them knew the complete Dumbledore, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
Because
to
because there's
to
some blind spots, you know?
yeah, I mean, there is something definitely to be said, and I wholeheartedly agree with like like your family is always in a way going to see you in one specific way. Like when
Oh,
you know
yeah.
someone from
You
when
are
they're
14 years old forever.
yeah, like when you know someone from literally growing up into adulthood, like I personally experience this all the time. Like I am a completely different person than I was 5 years ago. I have
Mhm.
grown so much personally. Like I look back at who I was in college and I'm like, who is she? Like I don't recognize that woman. And like but to my mom, I'm still like the irresponsible like 13-year-old girl who doesn't know how to manage her money because she has never had her first job. Like, I'm still like, I will never be someone else to her. So, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, and I'm sure that does taint how Aberforth or Aberforth, whatever, um, sees Albus, right? Like, it's his brother. Like, he's always gonna see him in a certain light, um, even if he spends just as much time with him as an adult as Harry did.
And also, I think there's something to be said about like being around people who either see you like that or bring out those sides of you, right?
Yeah,
Because like obviously I was back in Puerto Rico for 2 months and sleeping in my teenage bedroom,
yeah.
which of course has changed. Like my mom didn't like keep it creepy and like like
Right.
it was
Like a
when I was a
shrine.
teen. Yeah. Because she was probably like, these lime green walls gotta go. Like we cannot do this
That sounds
anymore.
amazing. I want lime green walls.
It was like lime green and like lavender. Like one lime green wall and a lavender
That sounds
wall.
amazing.
Like,
I'm here for
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
had
no,
I
it
had
was,
bright pink walls in my childhood
oh,
bedroom.
gorgeous.
Bright
Love
pink.
this for you.
Yeah.
So, um, just imagine that. And like my mom was like, no, please. Like she has like super like preppy nautical sensibilities. Everything has to have like a nautical theme for her.
Yeah.
So the brightness was not for her. Anyway, um, so I'm sitting there in my room, a grown ass adult, like I am 36 years old, everyone, with my first and only child, with all these adult responsibilities. And I kid you not, I felt like I was 14. Like I found myself regressing to like ticks, behaviors, maybe like ways of thinking
Yeah.
that I had not accessed
Yeah.
in a very long time. And like, so sure, my mom will always see me as a 14-year-old. And in many ways, I am a teen mom, as I have said many times. I feel it in my heart that I am a teen mom. But there's also that part of me that does come out. So it becomes like this self-fulfilling like cycle almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they know which buttons to push because they installed them.
Yeah. It's regression. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm fully I wouldn't say I'm fully back to 36 because am I ever, you know?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I'm
I feel that.
at least in, my early 20s, maybe 19, still a teen mom.
Well, 19-year-old Adri, did you have a quote for your politic this chapter?
Oh, yes, I did. Um, this is basically, like, the moment where, the Death Eaters are talking to Aberforth about the charm. "You set off the caterwauling charm? What if I did? Going to cart me off to Azkaban? Kill me for sticking my nose out of my own front door? Do it then, if you want to. But I hope for your sakes you haven't pressed your little dark marks and summoned him. He's not going to like being called here for me and my old cat, is he now? Don't worry about us, said one of the Death Eaters. Worry about yourself, breaking curfew. And where will you allow traffic potions and poisons when my pub's closed down? What will happen to your little sidelines then? Are you threatening? And like that's where it ends.
Yeah,
I thought this quote was really interesting in many a ways because you could see here that the curfew is in many ways being enforced to legitimize the Death Eater's power over the populace.
makes
I mean,
sense.
they clearly are trying to like be all macho and alpha there. And
100%.
secondly, I lost my train of thought, but I will get it back. Let's go to platform 9 3/4. Let's see if I can find my choo choo train. Okay, so I found my train of thought. Um, so the second part of this that was interesting to me was that Aberforth understood enough about the situation that he could kind of like lightly blackmail the Death Eaters to leave them the fuck alone. And there's a lot of you know, in history, right? Like where there's war and there are curfews and like there's an occupied town or city, uh, they all have their side hustles because, like, the military or whatever doesn't pay them enough to occupy these cities. So they're like I know that the Nazis did this a lot, where they had their own like smuggling things in like occupied cities, and that they
Yeah,
like raided homes and kept the valuables, that kind of stuff,
yeah.
for personal enrichment. And Aberforth is like, "Yeah, my dude, I have more power than you think." So, thought that was cool. Kinda reminded me of, Dumbledore Albus, comma Albus, in a
Yeah.
more bombastic way, you know? You know, Dumbledore, comma Albus would have been, like, very calm and polite about it and not as forceful,
Yeah, I mean, they're both good at talking themselves out of situations. Yeah, like, they're both, mm, you
which
know.
is very, like, Fred and George of them, might I add.
Yeah, but Fred and George, I feel like I'm just more chaotic in general.
Oh, of course, like, I stan the chaos, like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
as a chaotic being,
Right.
I stand the chaos. So who was the character for you that gave you some perspective?
I decided to go with Aberforth just because obviously we always hear from Harry's perspective. Harry's perspective
Yeah, of
is
course. Yeah.
nothing new to us. Um, but Aberforth not only got to like, explain his side of the story of like what happened here, but it's also him that's struggling with like like just deciding to believe Harry that like he has to finish this job for Albus even though he doesn't really trust that Albus, like, had Harry's best interests at heart.
And you know what else makes me think about perspective now that we've kind of fleshed it out? Like the portrait of Ariana itself is almost a study on perspective because, well, one, perspective is a thing in art. But
Yeah.
secondly, this is one of those portraits that is not like the rest of the moving portraits that we've become used to seeing.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
turns into like this, basically tunnel to Hogwarts.
Mhm.
Um, the other part of perspective that I also wanted to mention, visually, is that this is called the something mirror, right? Like the last piece, the missing mirror,
Yeah.
and Aberforth talks about how like he's the the eye and on the other side of the mirror, which is like another quote perspective, right? Because Harry was
Mhm.
thinking it was Dumbledore,
Yeah,
and like technically, like just having like the eye to spy on like a fragment of reality or whatever is also a study on perspective
yeah.
visually. So I was just thinking about those things, going like, there's a lot of things going
I
here,
mean,
going on here.
technically Harry wasn't wrong. It is a Dumbledore in the mirror.
I mean, he thought it was a Dumbledore, comma Albus. I now it's this is what's going to happen from now on.
Right. Well, I'm guessing it wasn't Dumbledore, comma Albus because he wasn't in this chapter. But who is your character for your curfew politic, Adri?
I mean, it could have been the like Death Eaters as a collective, but I never want to shout out neo Nazis. You know what I mean? So
Fair.
it is Potter, comma Harry.
Mm, okay. I'm surprised you didn't do Dumbledore, comma Aberforth.
Oh, because I have him later on in the episode, and I didn't want to talk about Dumbledore, comma Aberforth so much.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Um,
Indeed, the book is called, Harry Potter and the
that's true. That is true. In terms of seeing each other's politics in the series, I have to say I don't know if we ever see a curfew enforced.
But you know what we do see enforced are, like, bedtimes at Hogwarts, which is, like, a looser curfew.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
not
Oh,
supposed
yeah.
to be out of bed.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be out of bed. Okay, yeah. That is a good point. And I'm trying to remember if
The Dursleys definitely had rules around that for Harry.
yeah, wasn't there like a point where I guess maybe there wasn't like anything enforced, but in Diagon Alley at one point, like wasn't it really everything was boarded up and there wasn't really people walking around? But I don't remember if that was because of like a curfew. I don't think it was a curfew actually,
I
but
don't think it was over curfew, but and then, um, the entire thing about, like, so we've got okay, sorry. Let me backtrack. We've got bedtimes at Hogwarts. They're not supposed to be on the grounds. They're not supposed to go to the Forbidden Forest. Like all these other like these are not necessarily curfews, but there are rules regulating where you could do, can't do in like certain times of day or places.
yeah.
The Dursleys definitely had curfews, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about curfews and the Dursleys is remember that summer Harry was like basically locked in his room in the room as a
Yeah.
prisoner,
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, yeah, when I think of curfew, I think of like you are free until a certain time and then you are not free. But
Yeah, of course.
so like I mean, I guess maybe if they like let him out for like an hour a day, like
Well,
it's like
but
the
that was
opposite. It's like a reverse curfew. Like you're
no.
never free except for this specific
No,
time.
I meant it in the way of, and I should have explained myself further. Like, you know how it in the like article that I found, it's talked about like how they could be jailed for breaking curfew, and like
Yeah.
Harry had to like quote broken their curfew slash expectations of what like where he could put a toe out of line or where he couldn't, right? So they imprisoned him.
Yeah, they sent him to jail.
Yeah.
He's in jail
So
right now.
he's serving his sentence anyway.
Right.
Um And from for your politic perspective, I think the main thing about this book, and then I'll talk about the series as a whole, is that it forces us to shift our perspective on Dumbledore, comma Albus, and what we thought we knew about him up till now, and it kind of retrospectively colors like the rest of the series for us because then we're like, huh, did Dumbledore like need to really do this way? Like, it makes us kind of think about
Same with
things.
Snape
Yeah,
later in
same
the
with
book.
Snape. The chapters that are not in the perspective of Harry have always been interesting to me, like across the series. Like why that choice? And it's like, well, how could Harry have like had a dream about like the unbreakable vow, right? Like,
Or like the other minister. I love that. I love that
yeah,
chapter.
love that chapter. It's
Yeah.
such a great way. So it gives us like a little bit of like a different, it opens the world for us, I feel like, in
Yeah.
a grander way. And I just can't help but, like, make the comparison that, like, what we learn about Dumbledore, comma, Albus in this, book and colors our retrospective understanding of the series and Dumbledore is a lot like the Scandival, which, like, makes us retrospectively color back all those season of Vanderpump Rules and go like, "I was right, he's a dick," and everyone else was saying he wasn't. This is
Oh
great.
man. Yeah.
You're welcome, everyone, for your daily dose of pop culture.
Yeah. We're always gonna find a way to get it back to this Vanderpump Rules thing, apparently.
I mean, I feel like I did solid comparisons.
Yeah, you've just, it's been a couple of
I
times in this episode alone.
do you know, like, do you know in Mean Girls when Lindsay Lohan's character, is like, I could see them becoming bored with me, but I just couldn't stop talking about her." Literally how I feel about the Scandal.
Speaking of Lindsay Lohan, did you see that
She
she's
is
pregnant?
pregnant! I know!
Yeah.
How exciting for them.
Congratulations, Lindsay Lohan, because I know you listen to this podcast.
Obviously, duh.
Now you better name your first child Acciopolitics.
How about Helena?
That's boring because you don't get enough Adri in there, so it's Adriline or something.
Look, my people love to mash up names together. Like, let's not do this. I hate it.
I think if she just calls the kid Acciopolitics, that covers it.
Or like, we'll know if she's a listener if like the first name is it starts with an A and like the middle name is a P name, like Penelope or whatever, and we'll be like, she did. She did name her kid
Oh my
after
god, what if
us.
she does? That would be crazy. We'd be like, we knew it.
It'll color the retroactive aspects of these podcasts for everyone involved.
Yeah. Thank you, longtime listener and fan, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, we've always been on your side, rooting for you.
Yes.
You know what I don't root for, Helene?
Dementors.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Me neither. I don't root for him either.
Or Mitch McConnell.
No.
But yes, Dementors. This is our section where we talk about things that we fucking hated, the Dementors, and the things that gave us some hope and joy, aka the chocolate. Helene, tell us all, what is your Ted Cruz, Mitch McConnell?
Honestly, just the description of what happened to Ariana, to make her what we later learn in the Fantastic Beasts movies is an obscurus or obscurial. I can never remember what the difference. I think she's an obscurus and the actual thing. Anyway, um, just yeah, like I'm pretty sure. Like so, they allude to the fact that these kids, I guess, like raped her. That's honestly what it sounds like they're alluding to in this chapter. They don't
Yeah,
specifically
they don't.
say.
I think it just leaves it so open to interpretation.
Yeah. But it definitely like that's how I interpreted it. Um and so like this girl was so young, like it's just dark. It's just awful to think about.
Yeah. So mine was, let me go to my Google Doc so that I can remind myself what mine was. Yeah, just the like super sad like existence and life that like the Dumbledore family must have had, you know?
Yeah.
And it also sounds like Kendra Dumbledore wasn't like the best mom to Dumbledore, comma Albus, Dumbledore, comma Aberforth, Dumbledore, comma Ariana.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it none of them had an easy life. Um and so it's honestly a bit surprising that Albus turned out the way he did,
Yeah.
personally. I mean, it's both surprising and in some aspects not as surprising. But
But lift us up with some chocolate, Helene, please.
yes, chocolate. Speaking of, I have a chocolate recommendation. Are you guys ready?
Okay,
Um,
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm sitting down.
I made the very rare trip that I don't always make to Trader Joe's. It was the first time I'd been in a while.
Oh, love Trader Joe's.
And I picked up these Bananas candy.
Okay.
It's a stupid name. I don't know why they named it that, but they're basically like chocolates in the shape of a banana that have like this banana cream flavored stuff inside, and
Ooh.
then like little what they call them cocoa nibs. I'm not 100% sure what cocoa nibs technically are, but they're like little tiny pieces of like harder like
Well,
cocoa.
okay, cocoa nibs are the little seed, like the cacao like seed.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So then it's the
Like they
banana.
toast them and then they like grind them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, there's like the banana flavored cream that has the cocoa nibs mixed in inside like this chocolate banana shaped. It
I need
is
to go.
very good. Yeah, and I knew it was going to be good because when I got to the checkout line, the cashier was checking them out and she was like, "These are brand new and really really good. You made a good choice." I was like, "Thank you. I am glad to hear that."
I go crazy at Trader Joe's. I'm like, "Give me all the cookies, give me the pancake bread, give
Yeah,
me,
it had
like, the chocolate chip dippers,
yeah.
for the
It had
milk."
it had been a hot minute since I'd been there. It's been at, like, probably at least a year since I'd gone, and I picked up just, like, like, a bunch of just random shit. I ended up like, I had a lot of shit, and I ended up only spending, like, $50. I was like, "This is cheap."
Yeah,
And now I have a list of because I got, like, 1 of things just because I was like, "I don't know if I'll like this. I don't know if I like this." And I, like, loved 99% of it, and so now I have to go back and just buy multiples. Like, they have these chocolate croissants that were the
yeah,
best thing I've ever tasted, and they come in 2 in a bag, and I bought 1 bag, and I was like, "We'll see." I was obsessed. I was like, "Okay, next time I go, I have to buy, like, 6 bags." Like,
yeah, yeah.
they're so good. Is that a dog growl I hear?
Yes. Cleo, please.
So that's my
She's getting
chocolate. Oh,
she's
sorry.
getting really upset because you went to Trader Joe's without her.
I'm sorry, Cleo, you can come with me next time. I don't know if they allow pets inside, but,
She is a person, excuse me?
yes, a person who is a dog.
Yeah. Clearly. Um, side note, and then we'll get to the real chocolates that you have for this chapter. One of my like mom friends is a pediatrician, and she just like posted her pediatrician bio like that appears on her website, and like at the last sentence was like, she's a mother of 3 kids, and I was like, I thought Lucas was her firstborn, right? Like I'm just like, and then it's like in parentheses, 2 of which are dogs, and I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense.
That's how
Yes,
you should
yes."
start. You should start introducing yourself. I'm a mother of 4. I have 3 dogs.
3 of which happen to be
Yeah.
dogs.
It'll just make people think that, like, oh, like, you can just be so much more, like, tired in public because 'cause they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, she has to take care of 3 children." Yeah.
Of 4
Or
children.
sorry, 4 children, right, yes.
Eh one of my friends, okay, we need to get to the chocolate, but this just also reminded me that one of my friends, when I was trying to, convince Seth to get a 4th chihuahua, which obviously didn't happen, but, that was the running joke, she was like, "Just tell them it's, like, the 4th meal at Taco Bell, like, it's essential."
Amazing.
So, Livy, in a way, is the 4th meal of this house.
Yeah, there we go.
So special. Hopefully not trashy. Anyway, Helene, tell me what your chocolate was for this chapter.
My chocolate for this chapter was just the visual of Aberforth trying to convince the Death Eaters that they mistook the Patronus, which was a goat, or which was a stag for his goat Patronus. Um,
He did the Jedi mind trick. I
yes,
That's literally what it is.
yes, yeah, because obviously Harry cast his Patronus. It was a stag. They were like, "Oh no, it was definitely a stag. Yeah, we saw a stag. That's Harry's Patronus. He has to be here." He's like, "You're an
Uh,
idiot.
you're an idiot. What you
That was
saw was a
that
goat.
that was totally a goat. You're stupid." And they're like, "Oh yeah,
He's so dumb. You guys, so
yeah,
dumb. Well, my chocolate is what happens after that, which is like, you guys are so dumb. Like, do you think I don't have power? I'm the owner of this pub, and like, do you still want to make money? Do you still want to traffic potions and poisons? Well, you know what you got to do. You got to let me go.
right, yeah." No, he's smarter than he like than he. not that he looks, but then he likes to like act, I guess.
Or he is way smarter than what people believe of him.
Yeah,
Perspective.
people under
Perspective.
yeah, people underestimate him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Just like they underestimate my tiny white chihuahua, who is the most fiercest creature on this planet, according to her.
Of course.
Anyway, um, I think, is this it? Are we done for today?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, well, tell me what media you've been consuming.
Oh my gosh, I actually have a pretty long list, so I'm gonna try and condense it.
Oh, Jesus
Um,
Christ.
I'm gonna condense it. Don't worry. Last night I finished Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by
Ah,
Christina Lauren.
love that one.
That one was cute. Yeah. Wasn't expecting the ending. Not gonna spoil it for people, but like, um, it was just like, oh, that's where they're taking this. Okay. But I liked it. It was cute. And honestly, it took me a minute, like getting like at the start, being able to like read from Hazel's perspective because Hazel's just literally all the fucking place. Like she's everywhere. And like following her train of thought, like I was like, wait, what are we talking about? We were just talking about this and now we're talking about this. And it took me a second to like be able to like understand what Hazel is like thinking and saying because she's a
So
little bit of an oddball.
I am surprised that you had a trouble getting into that because you follow conversations with me pretty well. Like
I
this is
think
literally how my brain is.
I don't yeah, I know, I think it was just reading it, like, I just would get like, I get confused because like, when you're reading it, I don't know, you're, like, focused on the last thing that you just read, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Wait," it just I don't know. It took a couple chapters. I didn't dislike it at the beginning, but it's just like I mean, I was just like, "I hope that this gets easier to understand later, or else I'm just gonna be really confused." And it did, it got easier to understand. I don't know if, like, I got smarter or the book just, like, was like, "We're not gonna make it that difficult anymore," but either way.
Maybe she was medicated halfway through.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I liked it. I'll recommend it. It's middle of the road for me for Christina Lauren books so far that I've tried. It wasn't like amazing, like the best I've ever read, but it was like very decent.
Well,
Um,
and let's be clear, like Christina Lauren books are overall pretty good. It's like
yeah,
saying like a middle of the road Emily Henry book, which like will be a fantastic book any
yeah.
other day.
Like the worst Emily Henry book is better than like the best Christina Lauren book, probably. To be honest, I mean,
Well, there are levels, Helene. There
yeah.
are levels.
Which reminder, Emily Henry's new book, Happy Place, comes out on April 25th, I think, or April 23rd. So we have like a month. I already pre-ordered it. I'm very excited.
Oh, can't wait to talk about it.
But my next book, because I have a month until that comes out, I'm going to try and read one more book between now and then, and it's going to be Beach Read. So we'll see.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Anyway, so that was the first one. And then I I had to call out because I don't remember if I've called this out on the pod or not, but I had to call out The Last of Us. Have I talked about Last of Us yet?
No, I don't think. Well, I think yes.
Okay, well, the
Is that
season
what?
finale.
That's the one with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. The first season ended like last week, and I haven't played the game yet. I'm definitely gonna play it now. But like I was so skeptical, and it was one of my favorite seasons of television in a long time. And probably not like better than Ted Lasso, especially. I mean, they're very very different shows. Um, but
By the way, Ted Lasso
yeah,
is out.
yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I was gonna mention that, but yes, the first episode of Ted Lasso for season 3 was very good as well. But The Last of Us, honestly, Pedro Pascal is my favorite person in the entire world now. Like I'm obsessed with him. So
Yeah.
I know his whole name too, so you know that's fine. Um,
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Not stalkery at all.
no, I love him so much. He has like 4 names. Anyway, so that highly
I
recommend.
mean, so do I, but
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, 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 for sure. Um,
Oh, yeah, like I'm not so important. Okay, whatever.
yeah, you're no Pedro Pascal. Um,
Excuse me. I am too.
Oh goodness. And then the last one I just wanted to call it really quickly that it was a good documentary I watched on Netflix called MH370, The Plane That Disappeared. And I'm sure most of you remember this news story from 2014 where a red-eye flight flying from Malaysia to
Mhm.
China disappeared over the South China Sea in the middle of the night and was literally never found to this day.
Mhm.
They have not recovered any of the passengers. They have found debris, but it took them like 3 years, and the debris itself is pretty sketchy. They're not even sure it really fully came from the plane. So, um, the the documentary was good. It's 3 episodes, like a mini series. The documentary was interesting. However, they did push some kind of weird, crazy, out there conspiracy theories that I'm just like, "That's just not like, that didn't happen." It's like, why are we even giving credit to this theory? Um,
So it were we just like one step or two removed from like QAnon
like,
conspiracies?
okay, so the one that, like, really was like, "This is stupid, I'm not buying it," was, like, one of the theories was there was a package, there was cargo that was being carted on the plane that did not get scanned, that was personally escorted onto the plane and is not listed in the inventory as what it is. And so people think that it was like drone technology that they were giving to the Chinese government to help spy on the US.
Oh wow.
And so the US, like, the theory is that in order to stop the Chinese government from getting this, like, advanced drone technology, the US government sent, like, these, like, special NATO planes, um, and shot the plane out of the sky. But the thing is that plane had like over 200 innocent people on it, and I just feel like there's literally no way. Like, the US has done some awful shit, I will agree, but I really do not think that there is a way that the US government would choose to murder 280 innocent people to stop China from getting drone technology. Like, I think they would find another way.
Also, how are we sure China doesn't already have the drone technology?
Well, I mean, this was back in 2014, so, like, whatever, like, they just, like, they didn't have it then or something.
Well, but but by the no, I'm saying like they probably also did have it back then.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know even know where they got drone technology. Like, I was like, "Where did that even come from?" But I was like, "No, they would not do this covert mission to murder 200 innocent people and, like, all their, like, and, like, I mean, these people have families that are gonna wanna know what the fuck happened. They're not just gonna murder all these innocent people without a trace, just stop China from getting this technology when literally, like, they could just intercept the cargo when the plane
It
landed."
sounds like a QAnon conspiracy
Yeah,
theory.
so,
Yes,
like, so
continue.
that was just, like, one of the theories, and I was like, "This is so dumb. Like, this is not true. This is stupid. Why are we talking about this?" Um, so but, I mean, in general, it was interesting, like, you could hear from the survivor, or the people's families, because there were no survivors because they never found anybody. And it's just crazy because they, like, literally, like, scoured both two different oceans, because there was a theory that, like, the plane turned around when it lost contact with the radar and, like, went over a different ocean. So, like, they looked in the South China Sea and, like, I think it was the South Indian, and, like, the Indian Ocean or something. Um, and, like, for, like, weeks and weeks, and had multiple countries doing searches in these, like, specific areas of these oceans, and they never found one piece of evidence of the plane. Hi, Emmy. So it's just crazy. It's just insane. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just had Emmy and she was a little barky, and then I muted myself and I forgot that I muted myself. Okay, so thank you for that media. I have three, but I'll be very quick, I hope. Disney Plus has a bunch of movies from the early aughts and the 90s and all that. Um, this morning, Livy and I watched The Pacifier because
With Vin Diesel?
apparently, yes, with Vin Diesel, because apparently she does not like cartoons yet. So
What about
a
Bluey?
well, she loves Bluey, but after like one episode she's done.
Hmm.
But this held her like whole entire being for about like at least 75% of the movie. And I was like, is it because Vin Diesel looks like a baby?
I was gonna say, maybe she's in love with Vin Diesel. That's what I was gonna say.
But he looks like a big strong baby, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause he's like bald.
Yeah, I mean, and the movie was called The Pacifier, so she probably thought she was gonna get a pacifier.
Well, she did get a pacifier. She was like, "This is a beautiful man."
Amazing.
Um, which also has our own Lauren Graham.
Oh, yeah, I forgot she was in that.
I also forgot, and I was like, "Wait, is this Gilmore Girls? No, wait, no."
Yeah, I definitely did not remember she was in that movie.
Yeah, so she really, really enjoyed the movie, The Pacifier. I've been re-listening to Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is something you're gonna start soon.
Yes, yes.
Um, and as mentioned earlier, Vanderpump Rules, cause why not? Now, like we're all like Sherlock Holmes looking for clues.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fun to be an armchair detective.
Yeah, like Angela Lansbury,
Right. I don't get the reference, but okay.
but from my couch. Like Murder She Wrote. That's
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it.
But I'm not gonna be like a mystery writer solving murders because my friends are rich. I'm just gonna be listening to podcasts on my couch,
There you go. That works.
like most of us.
Yep. Probably whoever's listening to this right now.
Well, I hope that your couch listener is comfortable and inviting for you.
Yes, me too.
Well, that's it for today. Please join us next time as we talk about Chapter 29 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, The Lost Diadem.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, please take a second to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to us right now. It helps the new listeners discover the podcast and it makes us amazingly happy and giddy because who doesn't want to be giddy?
I mean, I know I do. But until then, politics managed. Support this show by going to patreon.com/acciopolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at acciopolitics.com, and we are at acciopolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@acciopolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699, and you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Karp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Acciopolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.